So again, existential risk, something that threatens the destruction of humanity's long-term potential. It can be human extinction. So when we stop to exist, there will be no potential. There will be no chance for our species to flourish. We will just die out. No future. But it is quite possible that we will survive as a species, but our long-term potential will be destroyed. We can imagine, for example, a war which will cause our civilization to collapse, and we will return to a very primitive form, and then would not be able to develop because the population will be too small, or maybe anything else that can prevent us from flourishing, like kind of utopia in which, let's say, computers or something will limit human activity and prevent them from reaching their long-term potential. So this is existential risk, and it leads us to future-oriented thinking that encourages to focus on future of humanity rather than on its presence, because future of humanity, although it's very remote, has a potential to be very rich at the same time. And in contemporary philosophy, this kind of reorientation of philosophy towards the future, especially far future, is called long-termism. And long-term created by Nick Bostrom. That is a contemporary philosopher who wrote actually many interesting things, but he is also famous for one article, Existential Risk Prevention as a Global Priority. And here he shows that the number of people that are ahead of us, the number of people that are supposed to live on the earth as long as it is habitable, so until the sun eventually eats the earth, as it has who are close to very old stars. This number is not only large, it's overwhelmingly large, because the
Go back. You see?
I'm,
There we go.
I'm here. The problem is, well, I never been disconnected 3 times during one meeting. So that's something new to me, and I'm sorry for that. So maybe the internet has bad day. Anyway, I don't remember, I don't know when I disappeared, but I was trying to explain Bostrom's argument, in which the number of people that are going to live in the earth as long as it's habitable will be very, very large. And therefore, whatever we do to those people may matter much more from Bostrom's perspective than anything you can do to people who are living nowadays. Even a tiny help to make those people, those future generations appear and flourish would mean much more than, let's say, alleviating suffering in the earth now. So it means, or Bostrom argues, we should refocus and prioritize future people, prioritize existential risk prevention, as if we are able to prevent some risks that are threatening future human existence, then we will save, and we will save the future people, and we will enable them to have a life, a very good life. And also we can speculate that the terrestrial flourishment of humanity is still something ahead of us. Just as we have much better life than our ancestors, than our parents, than our grandparents, then it is also very likely to expect that people in far future will have a life way better than ours. Maybe like George Jetson that I'm sharing with you, people will work 3 hours a day, 3 days a week, and their job will be to press the button 5 times during the day. Still the boss is yelling at him. If you forgot about this cartoon, it's still worth seeing, and partly some of those visions happened, or at least became reality in our time. So, but let's not make it shallow. Apart from having less job, there are many more opportunities, many more things that can make our life better in terms of flourishing, not only in terms of material hedonism. So, for example, what we can expect from the future is the ability to explore space, maybe better understanding of human being, so being able to answer our needs better, being able to educate our children better. And we don't know what really hides behind it, because each generation adds to knowledge and each generation is really better educated. Art can be more inspiring, more deep. Well, we can expect much better philosophy. Maybe even there is a chance to fulfill the dreams of Plato, that people will be achieving us on theoretical contemplation. Why not, actually? So we don't know where humanity can go. We don't know what it can become, but we can hope for
We cut out
better.
again.
We can hope for. Excuse me? Hello? Am I gone again? Maybe I pressed more buttons than expected for today. Sorry for inconvenience. Anyway, we don't know the future. We don't know our potential, but we know there is something like that. And long-termism tells us to focus on this potential. Also, if I see the hand risen, so please, if you want to speak, please speak.
Doctor, wouldn't we say that with this long-termism business, like, wouldn't it, like, technology is a tool? So if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, it seems that you're saying that it could cut down on some of our potential, our long-term potential, just with a certain reliance on computers. My question then is, do you think it's more of a problem of education right now then to increase our potential so that we're less likely to allow computers to, I guess, shortchange or cut short our long-term potential?
Well, I think I don't know answer to this question, but well, on one hand, computers speaking very general, technology is considered a threat to our potential, but at the same time, we're using a lot of it, and it looks quite helpful. But as I think at this level, we can't say for sure how we will develop regarding computers. Definitely, that will be conclusion of this meeting, that technology requires moral control, and that certainly applies also to using computer, also to our education. But to be clear about the role of computers in our flourishing, um, that's really very hard to say right now. Even at this level of using computers, we can see how we can use it for good and for bad. And well, might be we are only in the very beginning of development of this technology.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure if it's satisfying, but that's the best I have right now. And to add to this, we can also say that if we allow ourselves to have a long-lasting existence, then we can repair things that humanity has already caused, like environmental damage, for example. We know that it is an issue today. Maybe with technology, which is somehow controlled by morality, we will switch to less expansive way of existence as civilization, and repair the environmental damage that that development of humanity caused so far. And maybe we'll be able to create to have less suffering in the world, to have less injustice. So like there are opportunities ahead of us. We don't know them very well. We are looking for them with hope, but there is of course kind of thrill that that instead of opportunities, we will be facing another existential risks. And since I mentioned in the topic anthropogenic existential risks, I should tell you that there are two categories of the risks. There are natural and anthropogenics. Natural are, let's say, God-given. So their existence is part of the nature of the universe. Among them are the very famous, like asteroids, supervolcanoes, the diseases, collapse of the star. That is probably how our planet will eventually end. When we consider the threat of aliens, this is also kind of natural existential risk, because aliens would be something part of the nature of the space. And of course, these are just the examples, and probably there are many other natural things that we don't understand now. We don't know about them now, but they can also destroy us. So one of the aims that long-termists present is to look for other risks, other detecting potential risks. And anthropogenic existential risks are those which are directly caused by humanity, or when humanity is involved somehow into them. The most known and recently the most terrifying for us is nuclear war. Recently, due to war in the Ukraine, it is again very much in the heads of each of us that there can be nuclear war, and we don't know how would future look after such war, whether it would look at all or not. And unfortunately, humanity is very creative in this area. We are trying to produce many other types of warfare of mass destruction that may have the potential to become anthropogenic existential risks. And also, we can consider things that are related to the development of technology, like you maybe remember Matrix movie and robots taking over humanity. actually science fiction movies shows us many potential developments of technology that can lead to destroy our long-term potential, destroy humanity at all. Also, there are some risks that are originally natural, but because of development of humanity or thanks to human activity, they became anthropogenic existential risks. An example can be our current problem, some say current friend, coronavirus. It is a disease that, according to one hypothesis, was able to cross the border of species because of human activity. Well, actually, so we can imagine it escaped from laboratory. There are many laboratories in the world. They are dealing with very dangerous diseases, and by accident, somewhere a disease can accidentally jump out. There is also a hypothesis that coronavirus crossed the barrier of species because it was because of people eating, taking meat from poor conditions, let's say. And in general, because of the way we treat animals, there is a chance that diseases will develop. So this again shows coronavirus as anthropogenic modification of something natural as disease. And of course, we can imagine that someone can create a disease and spread it around the world. Then it will be an instance of warfare. But one thing is how coronavirus went to our population and changed the previous 2 years to everyone. Also, we know that it is able to mutate so rapidly and to spread so rapidly because of the way we live now. Namely, we live in very populated, crowded cities, and people are flying here or there and taking their diseases with them all around the world, so they can spread very fast. So we may say development of our species made coronavirus and any other pandemia more anthropogenic than natural existential threat. Also, some of you maybe have watched Don't Look Up movie. It tells about the asteroid that eventually destroys the Earth. But initially, humanity discovers it and is ready to deflect it. This is natural risk, and humanity knows how to deal with that. They had an idea for reasonable action to prevent it. And they didn't do it. Humanity was destroyed basically because of drive to profit. In the end, we don't know whether it was destruction of the whole potential of humanity or not, but at least the planet was destroyed. Anthropogenic risks are different from natural ones, at least in this respect that it seems we can control anthropogenic threats much more, we as collective, as humanity. For example, the decision to start nuclear war will be decision of people. So also collectively, since we understand it, we should try to find a way to avoid it. And of course, there are many similar things that as humans we can start and prevent. The war that emerged in the Ukraine only 33 days ago is actually a perfect example where can we go as a species. moment, just as I said before, but I'd like to emphasize, nuclear threat became again apparent. And well, there were wars before nuclear warfare, and they were breaking the rule "do not kill." But in the last century, war received this new dimension, and well, also Christianity was basically against war. But now with nuclear power, with new mass destruction warfare, we can say that the evil caused by war is far greater. War that started in the Ukraine can wipe out humanity. And also even the Pope yesterday noticed it, and although he's criticized for not saying enough, we can see that actually yesterday he said, before the danger of self-destruction, may humanity understand that the moment has come to abolish war, to erase it from human history before it erases human history. That's probably these are very important words also regarding our topic, as they here it is clearly stated that people should strive to avoid this anthropogenic existential risk, which is war, and here of course nuclear war as well. Well, intellectuals from the late 20th and early 21st century, they've spent a lot of energy to discuss anthropogenic risk. Not all of them use this name, but in general there was a lot there was a lot of debate on that, not only among long-termism, but also other philosophers who specifically targeted, for example, climate changes or artificial intelligence. Well, probably our future has never had so much organized attention. And now, what about Christian perspective on this topic? Well, there are voices that may suggest people should not worry about the end of humanity. It is somehow well grounded. This opinion is somehow grounded or built on the reading of Bible. Some ideas were gathered by Dominic Ruser in a blog post that I mentioned in the bottom of this slideshow, and Ruser emphasizes that one can interpret Christians are encouraged not to worry about the future and not to try to control it, but rather give control over the future to God and trust God. And actually, it is very hard to criticize these statements on very general level. We also know that the future is very difficult to manage. Like, we can hardly plan the next day, and in case of future and far future, we can only speculate what may happen. And well, so it may seem we are not in position to try to take far future into our control. At the same time, if we compare human being to God, it seems that God, by his very nature, has more knowledge and has more power to influence future. So if we were like in a partnership, God and people, then we should actually tailor our duties to our potential and let the God mitigate the future and let us work with the present. And then we should, it seems, we should consider future as a matter of providence, as we do not know the day nor the hour when we will expect the return of Jesus. And now, as Stefan Rinder points it, some Christians may believe God either would not let us die, or if it happens, then that would be better for us if we go extinct. However, we can counter-argue that in other areas, we don't believe God works like that. For example, we drive carefully, or we check whether our food is edible or not. So it seems believing in providence doesn't mean we are supposed to abandon considering risks. And then maybe this reasoning should be expanded to far future. But that's actually questionable whether, because it seems the reality that is very close and manageable to us is still something else than reality that is very obscure, very far away in time, and we don't really know how to control it. In Bible actually emphasizes no one can predict the end of the war, and therefore at least Christians should be instantly ready for it. The difference between Christians and secular people would be what they believe would take place after the destruction of humanity. Because for secular people, at least those who don't believe in any kind of afterlife, then the only way humanity can flourish is during the life in the earth, maybe as a collective, but still in our terrestrial existence. And for Christianity, afterlife is actually the very human flourishing. So this period of being in the earth is only part of the way towards full flourishing, which is much more than anything we can expect in this terrestrial reality. So then maybe we should evaluate actions that may lead to end of humanity as something positive. Well, that's also certainly not the case, although there were some sects that were really going into that direction. And maybe one of the nicest arguments would be from Thomistic tradition. So to reject, so to argue on metaphysical basis. And again, this is Stefan Rittner. And he follows Thomas Aquinas and presents a set of three arguments that I'll try to summarize. First of all, he emphasizes the natural law. Natural law is actually a huge part of Christian tradition. It is a law that is somehow inscribed in human being. It's a part of every human being, and this word natural here comes from nature, from human nature. So something that tells us what human really is. And according to Thomas, God has a plan to every kind of being. Like beings are made to fulfill their aim. Each of the being has their aim, and also humans individually and humanity have their aims. And now, if we cause our own extinction, then we will prevent our species and each individual from attaining our ends, from getting to our goals. So it may seem anthropogenic extinction would be, in a sense, total moral failure as a species. We would not reach the goal that was intended to us. Also, this argument can be used to prevent at least extinction of other species, since they also have their goals to fulfill. It doesn't say about natural extinction, but anthropogenic extinction seems to be action contrary God's will and plan. Second point is that if we cause anthropogenic extinction, it means we will kill really many people. And human life, for Thomas Aquinas, is not within the power of a human being. And now, what about the lives of all the humans, the very existence of species? Well, it seems that in case of anthropogenic extinction, humanity overestimated their power as a species. They aim too high, let's say. So it is kind of pride. Life and death decision on such an enormous scale is enormous pride. And for Thomas Aquinas, humility and pride are this is superbia. This is the worst of things that may happen. Well, we can of course discuss whether humility and pride can be ascribed to the whole species, but this idea of aiming too high resembles us of Babel Tower, when people wanted to transgress who they are, and this would be another instance of that. And thirdly, if we manage to destroy humanity, it may mean we destroy the most valuable aspect of creation. So by destroying it, we can make, in a sense, the whole cosmos pointless. Because it seems humanity might be its most important part. Of course, there are many who say we are not alone in the space, and in that case, this argument is weakened. But we actually don't know whether we are one of many species or the only species. If they are the only species, then consider this: we are the only species that looks in the sky and can think about it. We are the only species that can consider things as morally good or bad. So without us, the whole morality will disappear. Without us, the whole conscious thought may disappear. We will be the only species that wonders about its own existence and wonders about its potential to destroy itself. Of course, in case we are the only species. So we may say this argumentation, power of this argumentation is huge, and this is argumentation specifically Christian that gives them a strong motivation to prevent and consider anthropogenic risks. Also, apart from philosophy, at least in Catholic Church, you can find documents of the Church in which Christians are encouraged to stand against anthropogenic risks. Probably one of the pieces of writings that will be very much read nowadays, quite old thing from 1963, Pacem in Terris by John 23rd. This is the first encyclical letters in which Pope addresses nuclear war and encourages Christians to Catholics actually, but it is addressed to all the people of goodwill. But Pope encourages all Catholics to actively ask to make global peace, make this pacem in terris. Also, the idea that increasing human power should be under moral control was present many times by Paul VI, John Paul II, Benedict XVI. Benedict emphasizes we should care for future generations as well, and mentioned that one of the responsibilities of Catholic Church is to somehow protect mankind from self-destruction. Pope Francis goes even further. In Laudato Si, he speaks about extending the notion of common good to future generations. So when we speak about common good, we should not only consider people in the earth that are living right now, but also people that will come after. It is not long-termism, not the idea that we should consider people that will live in thousands or hundred thousands of years, but it is the idea that we should consider people people in the future, at least the next generations, the coming generations. Pope calls it intergenerational solidarity. Well, from the teaching of the Church, of the Catholic Church, and from the Christian philosophy, there is a quite different thinking, quite different image than you can get from secular thinkers like Ort or Bostrom. Like the main idea is for Catholic thinkers that what is needed is not more and better research, not more and better technology, but rather we need morally better human beings, morally better human beings that will use the technologies in a better way. Globally, we may say now we prioritize technology and we seek for technological solutions as an answer to everything. Maybe the input of Christianity could be to promote somehow prioritizing moral goodness, prioritizing the holiness. More people without power would be probably helpless, of course, but the other way around, it's even worse. If we have a lot of power without morality, we had and still are having a lot of evidence that can do a lot of harm to the other people. In our thinking about the future, maybe a specific role of Christianity would be to encourage to balance somehow morality and power. The more power we have, the more we can help. Maybe a way is to use the newest technology to restore Christian optimism. Of course, there is an issue among Christians whether we should not be skeptical against technology. One argument I learned from Brian Greene is that the Ark of Noah was also a piece of technology that, as you can see in this picture and know from the Bible, this is the technology that prevent humanity from one of the existential risks, which was the flood. To conclude, I would say there are. I think the discussion on how much should Christians care for anthropogenic existential risk. I don't think I presented all the arguments that are potentially here. Maybe some of you have ideas would like to share in the discussion. I'll be happy to learn them because this is one of the important topic I consider as part of my research. I believe those arguments should be at least convincing that that Christians also as a part of global society have their role into preventing existential risks for humanity, also existential risk of existential risk of anthropogenic origin. I think Christianity may have this also its special role in balancing morality and power raising awareness about, let's say, dual use technologies that can help a lot, can alleviate a lot of suffering, but at the same time they can be a part of destruction of humanity, or at least this long-lasting potential. Well, that will be all from me. Now we can have a discussion, and I'd like, if any of you would like to share any insights or has ideas, please let's discuss.
Mr. Professor, could I get the ball rolling?
Excuse me?
Oh, that's an American phrase saying, can I start with the first question?
In this case, yes, please.
Okay, so actually, one of the people who's on here commented to me that although the points were good and the questions and the issues are all valid, it seems like a point where you would need theology almost to kind of support the philosophy in here. Do you think that's true? Or do you think existential risk is something that can be approached completely from a philosophical perspective? For me, I don't think so much about theology. I was like, I think there needs to be like an existential ethics or something.
We need theology. Well, that's a very general question regarding how much philosophy and how are philosophy and theology related. Philosophy, let's return to Thomas Aquinas, relies on reason, on arguments that are valid to everyone, and theology relies also on our arguments that are not accepted by everyone. So if we want to build a Christian perspective, we have to touch theology. If we want to make something that is universally valid, theology can be only inspiration. So here the aim was to show Christian perspective, therefore theology is welcome here. If we were to build something for a broader audience, then I think it would be better to use theology only as a source of inspiration and go further with philosophy.
All right, and then from that, do you think it's possible to build like an ethical, I don't know, framework for handling existential risks?
Well, this is what philosophers are trying to do. So I hope for the best in this area. I think it is actually done. It depends very much on ethical assumptions that are taken by particular philosophers. Like, for example, Toby Ord mentioned will use a utilitarian framework and goes further with that. Probably certainly there are different approaches. As you can see, I presented kind of initial argumentation by another philosopher and theologian who knows Thomism. So that's one of the potential starting point. Maybe the other approaches are also welcome and possible. Like you can read Hans Jonas. This is definitely different approach, more of existential perspective.
Thank you very much, sir.
Seems we don't have any more questions, so well, I'd like to invite you for further meeting. I think Pani Manager can introduce the next meetings.
Actually, I don't have the poster with me. Do you have it on the computer?
I have.
Okay.
I have.
Oh,
And
Leonita, are you raising your hand or are you clapping for us?
because apart from this meeting, we're going to have two more. Both will be very interesting. And they will also be probably held at 7 p.m. of our local time. And the next one will be by Dr. Hernan Guerrero Troncoso. It's already it's already introduced on our Facebook, and it will be on the 20th of April, and in May, on the 10th of May, Dr. Joanna Mysonaberska from our university will also have her presentation. If you follow our social media, if you follow our website, you will definitely find the link, and I hope you will join us. And for now, thank you very much. Have a good evening, and I hope to see you soon on another event.
Thank you so much there.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.